Hello everybody, welcome to the Crowdfunding Workshop being hosted by Team and Beyond and led by Team 2 Legacy Adrienne Fritze of Money for Something. And we also had somebody come up from the audience at the Team North America weekend who owns a crowdfunding platform, and he is joining our conversation, and his name is Jed Cohen, and he owns RocketHub. And then also with us today is one of our Team 2 Legacies who is playing a global game, and he's Team and Beyond's co-leader and the leader of our Global Focus team, and he is here to put his game on the court so that we can learn from these experts in real time. So I'm Jen Baptist, and I am a Team 2 Quarter 1, and I am out of Team Pacific Northwest, which is the Seattle Center, and I am a social media mentor, and I am a co-leader of Team and Beyond, and my game in the world is social media mentoring, and this quarter I am playing the game for crowdfunding. So it's all perfect, and we're here today with you. And the way that we are playing with you is that you, while watching, have the opportunity to chat with us in the Google Hangout event that you accepted yes to watching. Now, you could be watching this in real time right now. It is August 31st. It's 5 p.m. Pacific, 2015, and you could be watching this after the fact because it's a recorded Hangout on air. And no matter when you are watching this, we, as the panelists of experts and your hosts, will be available for any comments, questions, anything that you put in the event. So don't hesitate to add your comments when you are watching this, and we will respond as quick as possible. So I gave a little brief introduction to who people are. I'm going to let you have some FaceTime with them, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their where they're at on team and what their game is all about. So we're going to start with the host. Adrienne, take it away.
Wow, I get to be the host. That's so awesome. Thank you, Jen. So my name is Adrienne Fritze, and I am a Team 2 Legacy person. I didn't know that's what we said we are, but that's who I am. And I did the Team Management Leadership Program like 15 years ago. And I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm one of the leaders that Jen is causing in her game this quarter, and I feel very privileged. She's such a live wire. I know that all the stuff that I say I can't do is just, that's out the window, man. I'm going to be able to do everything I want to do. So that's exciting. And let's see, I've got like a 30-year small business background and about 20-some years in advertising and marketing. And crowdfunding it brings it all together for me. All the best of the best happens in crowdfunding, and I'll talk more about that a little later. But for now, let's meet the other people who are here. So I'll turn it back to you, Jen.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to step it over to Jed, so you're up next.
Well, thanks very much. My name is Jed Cohen. I am one of the founders and the Chief Operating Officer of RocketHub.com. RocketHub is one of the world's largest crowdfunding platforms. We launched in 2010. Since then, I personally have touched over 50,000 crowdfunding campaigns. We have raised tens of millions of dollars for folks around the world, and I'm very pleased to be here this evening. Part of our business is to help educate folks about what crowdfunding really is, what really actually works versus what we sort of imagine crowdfunding to be. And I'm looking forward to both giving you some best practices and also dispelling some myths about what crowdfunding actually is as well. So I'm very pleased to be here.
Love it. Okay, now we're going to switch over to Robert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert Cummins, and I'm also a Team 2 Legacy. And I was while I was on team, I was leading the global media team, and since I completed, I stayed on, and I am now co-leading the Global Focus team, which is where we bring people from team onto a call with all the teams around the world, which includes India, Israel, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. and people can come on this call, and immediately they can be in touch with people around the world in the team program who are ready to play their games with them, and instantly cause their games to go global. Now, while I was on team, I started a company called Adept Construction Technologies, LLC, and I'm the president and CEO. And my company we're producing a roofing material from recycled tires. And I actually met Adrienne in another landmark course called the Wisdom Course. And it's there I became acquainted with her crowdfunding intensive, which I am actually doing with her right now, and it's an amazing course. And I'm getting a lot out of what she's creating. And so what we're doing is we're structuring up my campaign, which we plan to launch in November. And I'm really excited to be on this call and contribute in any way I can.
Perfect. And so everyone who's watching, and if you're in the event and you've been making comments, where are you? Where are you? We're live, right? And I'm requesting that you share what brought you to this event, so that we can be related to you as well. So please do put your what it is that you're interested or what you see as possible for yourself in the comments on the event, and we will incorporate it into the conversation. And as I've seen so far, Constance Schimmick is out there, and Lamia, and I may not say names correctly, forgive me, are in big demand for this tonight, or this evening. So thank you so much. Okay, Adrienne, are you ready to start your presentation?
Sure.
Okay.
I quite like the present, that's for sure.
Exactly. So I'm going to turn the camera over to you, and then be ready to do a screen share. Okay?
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
All right. Are you seeing the first slide that says money for something?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. So Money for Something is the crowdfunding workshop that I launched informally about 5 years ago in Portland, Oregon at the Oregon Technology Business Center. And I've been working with creative entrepreneurs for, oh gosh, who knows, 7 years or something like that, and got hooked up with the Small Business Development Center and several other startup type of organizations. And I ended up working with a lot of artists and movement people and just creative types, right? And the big thing that was missing was money for something versus money for nothing. And so I put together my first workshop, if you will, for the technology incubator, so we could just take people through a possible route of getting alternative funding. And so that's where this came from 5 years ago. And I've only just recently formalized it. So Jen has been in the process of, I think it's the 3rd or 4th intensive that we've led, and she's part of the team version. So I'll talk about that. So hello, global TMLP and guests. Hello. We've already gone through that. So who am I? My background is pretty eclectic. I started my first business when I was 16 years old. My first official business. I had been in business long before that. And I tend to like super creative projects that give back to the community. So I create live action role-playing games that are about organizations and their history and what kind of changes they're trying to bring into the world, but do it in a way that's tongue-in-cheek, fun, and a blast. And as an artist, I've done a lot of visual arts installations, had a gallery, studios, et cetera, on and on and on. And of course, the one resource that has always been difficult to source, especially for artists, is of course money. You can find a ton of artists and a ton of elbow grease, but money just hadn't been around. And crowdfunding, the first time I ran across crowdfunding was over 20 years ago, and it was a failed exercise on the internet that I thought was absolutely brilliant. So when these guys came back, RocketHub and Kickstarter and Indiegogo, I was just like, oh, This is so great. So Jed, thank you for bringing that old idea back and turning it into something that's absolutely changing the face of the earth. It's really an amazing, amazing resource. And I've worked with folks all the way from scientists who have new cures for cancer, nonprofits and startups, all kind of technology companies, artists, bicycle enthusiasts who have created new things for bicycling, etc. And many of them have gone on to be successful. The other thing that's really great about crowdfunding is it's you, your idea, and your passion that distinguishes you in this playing field. So I say it levels the field, and I've really had a great deal of joy over the last 5 years in supporting people as they've gone through the process of crowdfunding. So Jen has already asked this question: who are you and why are you here? And I'm looking forward to some of those answers. Maybe has anyone shared that yet, Jen?
Nope, I've got my eye on it.
Okay, you guys, we want to know who you are and why you're here, because it's really going to help us with this particular presentation.
Well, how about we ask Jed? How about we ask Jed and Robert? Right?
That's a great idea. Can we? If I stop this.
You can keep it on your screen. I control who sees what. So okay. Well, that's on your screen, unless you want your beautiful face. That's good too. I can switch it over. So I'm going to start with you, Jed.
Sure. In terms of who I am, by way of background, my professional career started at the ripe old age of 8 as a child actor and a singer. My claim to fame is that I have a bit part in Home Alone and Home Alone 2. I'm one of the cousins running around, and the most common question I get is, "Oh, were you the little boy who wet the bed?" And no, unfortunately, I think I would be much more memorable, but no, I was one of the kids running around in the family. But as a child actor, we ended up moving to New York. I made my Broadway debut at the age of 15 and decided I wanted to be an actor as an adult. And that went so well that you see me sitting here today. But along the way, I got my degree in astronomy and astrophysics at Harvard, and actually launched RocketHub out of my experience in the advanced course at Landmark. That was the seminal moment when I decided I wanted to start a business. And in having conversations with my soon-to-be business partners, we started thinking about what all of our friends really needed and wanted. And certainly I had a very large network of starving artists, friends, actors, folks in theater. My business partner Brian is a indie singer-songwriter, musician, so he had a similar network of folks who were always looking for money. And we were very interested in crowdsourcing, which of course was a very hot topic at the time. So crowdsourcing for money just made sense. And we incorporated in 2009, and at that point no one had heard of crowdfunding, no one had heard of Kickstarter. And we said, hey, there's an opportunity here, and jumped in at the deep end and launched in January of 2010. Why I'm here is because I'm passionate about this, and I'm passionate about helping people to achieve their goals. That's a lot of what I spent my year in the team management leadership program doing, and sort of taking our business to the next level, and also finding a way to help others do the same. In April of this past year, as part of one of my games in the world for the quarter, we completed the sale of RocketHub. We were acquired by an international social network for entrepreneurs, and it fits perfectly with what RocketHub is all about in terms of helping folks who are up to something big actually raise the money necessary to get their business, their artistic venture, et cetera, to the next level. And I'm very proud of our partnerships. We're midway through a partnership with A&E Networks, and now just launching another television partnership with Ovation TV. So one for business, one for arts, and in the end, whatever it is that you're up to, whatever you're raising money for, certainly we're out to help folks do just that.
Perfect. Okay, Robert, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, take it away.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I started my company when I was in the team program, and I'm developing a product called Armor Slate, and it's a material made from recycled tires, a roofing material, and it has so many of its own merits just standing alone as a roofing material. It's if you think about it, tires are designed for durability, reliability. They withstand extreme temperature conditions. They're impact resistant. They're leak resistant. It's a perfect product. For a roof. And and the other thing I'm doing is I'm partnering with organizations like Habitat for Humanity, who build homes for homeless people around the world. So I put my company together, and I got all the pieces in place, and I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and he was talking about his nephew, who's involved in the Nothing But Nets program, which is sending malaria nets to Africa. And I got to thinking about this, and I thought, my gosh, Africa, these mosquitoes are what what carry malaria, and tires are where mosquitoes breed. And in Africa, malaria is the #1 killer of anything. On the World Health Organization, it's the #2 killer in the world. So I started doing some research, and I found out that these mosquitoes are resistant to the pesticides. The malaria protozoan is also becoming resistant to the drugs that are being used to treat it. So what they're discovering is hey, we can't kill the mosquitoes, we can't effectively kill the malaria bug. We've got to do something about where they're breeding. And these studies that I was looking at were all pointing to tire dumps as one of the major breeding grounds. And it turns out that another person that I met in the team program, she's from Team Chicago, Zindaba, and she is a princess from Zambia, and I got to talking to her about my product, and she was really excited, and she had started a company to eliminate poverty in her country, Zambia. So she asked me to talk to the people on the board of directors, which I did. I told them about this product. It's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring economic infrastructure. I said, look, we've got to do something about malaria. And here's a product that's going to target all three of those, and it's a profitable business. So it's a great investment as well. And so all of this came together, and we're planning a conference in Zambia. And so I was having this conversation with Adrienne, and so I was really excited about the Money for Something crowdfunding intensive that she does, because I wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign. And at first I was focused on money and funding, and what I'm learning from her in this intensive, it's not about funding. Crowdfunding is not about funding. It's about the crowd. And with that in mind and that perspective, I've put together this amazing team, and Jen, by the way, is on my team, and it's we're having a great time, learning a lot. Adrienne's amazing. She brings the distinctions of team to crowdfunding, which is just, you can see the synergy in that. And so every opportunity that I have to glean some information from Adrienne, I'm there, and I'm really looking forward to this call.
Awesome. Okay, so we have two people who have shared. Hold on, I gotta change that. I'm so excited, I forgot to switch the camera. Okay, so we have two people who have shared in our chat group. And the first one is Lamia. She's still with us, and she commented that she's here to win her game in the world. Aren't we all, right? And she's originally from Morocco, and her idea is to bring Moroccan culture and a sense of community to the Bay Area. That's beautiful. And she is self-expressed. I think that's what she said, but it says Seljan. I don't know what Selj is. Self-expressed through her Moroccan cooking, and she knows that she needs funding to start. So it sounds like she's creating culture and seeking funding for potentially food broadcast, something beautiful, right? Thank you so much. Welcome. And then the other person is Shin. I don't know if I pronounced that right, forgive me. And she's here to bring together a community of conscious singles, that's me, dedicated to personal growth and making a difference. And they'll be hosting local events in South Bay, I think that's South Bay area. So money is needed for catering and logistical expenses. So welcome, you guys. Myself, who am I? Jen Baptist, like, why am I here? 6 years ago, my life imploded. Like, all areas of my life came down. I was an environmental geologist, a hydrogeologist at the time, and I was passionately making a difference with groundwater and remediating contamination in our drinking water and in the Pacific Northwest and in other areas. And I was also a compliance project manager. So I was working to prevent oil spills and also address stormwater and all of the contaminants that make it into our waterways through those those pathways. And within 5 weeks, I had a broken leg. My husband asked for a divorce. My daughter got diagnosed with a High-Knees condition and kicked out of daycare. My dad died, and then work was like, yeah, we're going to let you go. And so in 5 weeks, every wall of my entire existence came down. And this was, of course, in 2009 when there was we were going through a recession, and the possibility of me, for the first time in my life, I had never been without a job from age 15 until that point when I was, I believe, 35. I don't even think for a day. And so when I was in that situation and I was job seeking, all of that, and I did the divorce and separated the home and went through this whole transition, I was unable to find a job the whole time. And also I had a lot of physical health conditions that I had been young enough to sweep under the rug. And through that whole stressful situation, all of my physical conditions flared up and I was bedridden. And I was caring for my own daughter, and I couldn't find a job, and I was applying for disability, and in that time period, I had this thing called a smartphone, and I laid in bed, and I actually learned social media and everything through social media, and I was. It was attending my church, and my pastor in this one instance said, what do you want to do with your life? And I thought to myself, taking pretty pictures of nature would get me out of bed. And so I created in that instance that I was going to take my love of photography and become a nature photographer. And what should arrive in my world at the same time was Google going beta, and they were creating a community, a very powerful community with the photographers. And when I joined that community, there was just a plethora of information that for me to become smart from over my phone while laying in bed. And I created relationships and connections with people, and they actually were my friends and most of the people I socialized with. And then I began attending Landmark, and I really got, when I walked in the door at Landmark, that what I was the opportunity for Landmark to be an online community and to be in communication and connected through technology so that they could make a difference in people's lives, like the people who were doing on Google+, who were photographers for me. And explicitly what they did was they created online mentorships. And I was blessed to be mentored by a fabulous photographer up in northern Canada and northeastern Canada. And people who were in my mentorships were in Germany, and they were in Kuwait, and they were all over the United States, and all of this, and it was a true global conversation, and we were so connected. And when I sat in that first weekend of the Team Management and Leadership Program, and I saw the Team and Beyond videos and the share in the front of the room, I got in that instance just how much we can come together as team through online technologies and social media and creating powerful content with websites so that we could actually expand our games in the world further into the world than we ever thought possible. And I saw it, I lived it, and I knew it, and I stepped into being on Team and Beyond, and I have been a bold stand for Team and Beyond and the social media web team since that day. And that was in February of 2014. And so why am I here today, right? I'm here today because I am committed to your games in the world, expanding as far as possible into the world, and that you are able to have the experience of community and contribution and connection through social media. And I do not take no for an answer, and from technology or from anybody who is standing in front of me asking for support in expanding what they know is to be possible through online technology. And that's where I am and who I am, and my game in the world is creating online mentorships so that people are empowered to live intentionally online. And so back to the topic at hand, right, Adrienne? We're here to learn about crowdfunding, and getting related is really, really important. And so thank you guys, and anybody who steps into this hangout in the future, please do share what brought you here. Okay, Adrienne, share your screen again.
Okay, before I do that, I want to introduce my life and business partner, Mark Vanderpool. And that's him right here.
Good afternoon, good evening. Hi, everyone.
And for the last, I don't know, couple years for sure, he's made sure I've had all the technology I need to do what I do. He's a, what do you do? Software engineer, but embedded devices.
Right.
Yep. And he finally said yes to my proposal about business. So we're celebrating like 2 weeks now in a business partnership, and I couldn't be any more thrilled. Both he and I are accomplishment people, or coaches, if you will, not quite coaches, but coaches in the Wisdom course, and we're both head coaches of the Self-Expression Leadership Program out of Portland, Oregon. And so we're getting our butts kicked all over the place. And I mean the BUT, well, sort of the other one too, but definitely the BUT is going and is coming in. So it's really powerful. And who benefits from all of our training is you guys, which is really awesome. So I'm going to share the screen again. I'm going to go through this quickly because we have about 31 minutes, and I want to get to Robert because that's where the real education is going to land. But there's actually, well, when I did this slideshow, there were 4 types of financial crowdfunding, and your regular donation base, which everybody knows about, that's a form of crowdfunding. Rewards based, which is in the typical Indiegogo, Kickstarter, RocketHub, those are pledge-based. Lending-based models, Somo Lend, so that's where investors are getting together and loaning a project or a business money. And then there's the equity-based models where investors are actually owning a piece of your project, idea, business, etc. Now there's a new extension of the equity-based model and the lending-based model called direct public offering, or a state-based version of that is community public offering. And we won't go into great detail, but look it up. Do an internet search. You want to look up community public offering, because crowdfunding is a piece of a bigger picture, and sometimes crowdfunding, it'll take you so far, and it could take you a long way, but there may be other ways that you want to grow your company or your project over time, and things like a community public offering actually brings in the local community to support you in growing your business in a local way, and that's becoming incredibly powerful here in Oregon and in other states. which type to use. So this is kind of old school, and I'm going to rely on Jed to kind of course correct me in any of the new ways that he knows of. But in general, rewards or debt-based crowdfunding, if you're raising $50,000 or less, the common knowledge is to go that route, and any more than $50,000 debt or equity. However, over the last couple of years, we've seen major projects just take off in the pledge world. It's just been amazing to watch all of that, and I love it. I love that. So, like I said, this was old school, but if you're thinking about growing a business from your project, you want to keep in mind that there are all kinds of money out there. It's not as scarce as we think. It just isn't. This was from 2013, and it just sort of lays out visually what I just covered in the last slide. This is on our site. We have the big list of crowdfunding sites, and we're in the process of updating it. And what we do is we take a look at every crowdfunding site that we can find, or people will come to us. We vet the sites, which means we go through, we see how the site's performing, how many projects they've got there, how they support, etc., and we put it in our list. And if you go to moneyforsomething.com, and it's number 4, moneyforsomething.com, look for the big list, and you can start your research on the different kinds of crowdfunding platforms that are out there through that list. And there's other resources as well. Crowdsourcing.org is a really great resource. And actually, many of the crowdfunding sites have just incredible resources. Like RocketHub has this thing called Success School. It's fabulous, Jed. Success School. So you can really find a lot of great material out there, and there's a lot of not so great material too. My job is to sort through all that.
So Jed, do you have some stuff to contribute to what it is that she's creating?
Oh, certainly, and happy to hop in. You know, I think you've broken down, Adrienne, you've broken down the different types of crowdfunding really well. And, you know, the idea of having different price ranges for different types of crowdfunding really makes sense. The sweet spot for rewards-based crowdfunding or perks-based crowdfunding, for most people, sort of looks like a raise between, call it $5,000 and $50,000. And getting a small business loan, you know, you can close loans in the range of $50,000 to $500,000 within a couple of days. Of course, that requires that you have an established business and you have, you know, something for the bank to be comfortable lending into. But that kind of loan is relatively easy to find if you are set up well to find that money. And to approach a bank looking for that kind of lending. Equity crowdfunding is still in its very early stages. It is something that we are very heavily involved in shaping. My partners and I were very involved in shaping the Jobs Act. We testified in Congress twice and have been working very closely with the SEC and FINRA in order to shape regulation of the space. Equity crowdfunding currently looks like it is most appropriate for folks who are raising a lot more money because there's some serious overhead associated with those kind of raises. So raising something in the range of $1 million to $50 million for growth stage companies, etc., equity crowdfunding could be a really interesting option in the sense that it is a precursor to an IPO, not nearly as complex, not nearly as expensive, but can raise serious funds online. So, no, I think you've done a great job, Adrienne, in sort of breaking it out.
So as somebody who's gone to some crowdfunding workshops and have tried the concept on myself a few times, one of the things that has occurred for me is when you get into the equity, I think it's the equity crowdfunding, that when people are they're given a portion of your business, they then have a portion of the say in the business, and they're your investors. And if you have 1,000 of them or 100 of them, how do you even integrate that voice into what it is that you're creating? Was one of the things that stopped me in the conversation about equity. Yeah. So, do you have any powerful tips about that? I'll start with you.
It's a great question. I mean, in the end, that's not something that people have really come up with an easy answer to. Certainly having 1,000 investors in your company gets into a complex conversation because people feel like they have ownership, and quite frankly, legally they do. They may or may not be voting shareholders, they may or may not be board members, most likely, hopefully, they're not board members of your company. But as soon as you have investors, there's an obligation to have some sort of investor relations as well. So you need to sort of plan for that dynamic associated with an equity raise. My guess is that the folks on this presentation aren't specifically interested in equity raises because it is so new, and while we've heard some about it, it's really in its nascent stages, and honestly, I don't have a good answer to that question yet because nobody's really dealt with it yet. Title II of the Jobs Act is just becoming active now because FINRA the SEC just completed regulations, and FINRA is completing their own regulations, so nobody is really starting it yet. What's active now is effectively online Series A offerings of sort of standard equity investing models. So these are Reg D offerings where folks are saying, hey, I have a company and I'm looking to raise money from either venture capitalists or angel investors, and now I'm going to do it online. The same kind of restrictions still apply in terms of leveraging accredited investors only, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I just don't see anybody getting 1,000 investors just yet. That's going to come in the next 6 months to a year, and we'll be developing answers to those questions as we sort of figure out how it all works.
I love it. Okay, Adrienne, did we take us too far down the rabbit hole?
No, not really, not really. I do want to put in about community public offerings, though, because this is that space that's in between your typical crowdfunding and what happens with moving toward the IPO or having investors own your companies. Here in Oregon, what we're trying, and we'll see how this goes. It's been successful for the handful of projects we've done so far, but here it's the person with the project, the business, the idea that's getting funded who puts together the offer. So you may not have a say in the company, but you better have a darn good plan that you're pitching such that the people who are investing their money completely are behind what you're doing. And you can invest as little as $100 and own that percent of a company, but you're doing it on a local basis. So it's an Oregon-based company with Oregon investors. And that's what the community public offering is in, I think it's like 24 states now. I've got another slide with who's done it, who said yes, and who's still working on it. But I'm going to switch back to the presentation. If I hit the wrong button, I hit chat. Sorry. Here's the presentation. I don't know if I'm up. I still see Jed on my screen.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, awesome. So this next slide is really what you need to carry you through a campaign, because a campaign is not overnight, folks. It's not overnight. It takes some planning. It takes conversations. It takes inspiring other people and having them really fall in love with you and your project and your idea. And so
it takes a game of the world. It takes a game of the world.
The two big things that you really want to have is a project or business that totally inspires you, because you're the one that has to get out of bed in the morning, and a marketing plan that you'll actually implement. Now, you can take a lot of marketing courses and put together their formula of a plan and walk out of that workshop and you won't do a single thing. So it's really critical that you get clear on who you are and what you're up to, what your vision is, what your mission is, how you want people to hold the brand that you're building, all of that stuff. Get really clear about it, and then create a marketing plan that makes sense to you and your team, not one that looks like a big Coca-Cola brand kind of. You don't need to do that. You just need to create a plan that actually works. So we'll get into that a little bit. Why? Because a crowdfunding campaign is intense, it is tedious, it is work that demands your full attention and commitment. And the moral of the story is, love what you're pitching. Absolutely, right? Okay, so the 3 must-have elements are: have enough time to do your campaign justice. We suggest anywhere from 4 to 6 months. Some of the projects that are bigger, 12 months, even 18 months, depending on how large the project is, how many campaigns you're going to do, how much money you ultimately want to raise, how much impact you want to have on the communities that your project addresses. A compelling story. Oh my God, if you're not passionate about it, don't do it. Okay, that was personal advice, but I'm serious. If you're not passionate about it, don't do it. And if you think it's important and you don't have passion, get out of the way. Find the passion. Okay, there's that. And then a strong core base of supporters. Now, this could be as small as a family or a group of friends who so get the idea that you're putting out there, and then use them to create those relationships to build that fan base. Because you can put your project up on any of these sites, and if you don't do some of this background work, it ain't happening. It just isn't going to happen. Although A&E may have something to say about that with Jed's project. But in general, when you're going out there in the world, whether you're on GoFundMe, Fundable, any of those, you need to be aware that it's your relationships, it's your black book of contacts that really matters. And if you don't have that black book, build it, and that's something that we do in our workshop, and Robert will attest to that. And there's no overnight successes. I mean, it may, except for potato salad. That's the only one I've seen that's so that insane potato salad on Kickstarter, for God's sake. Okay. So now here's a Venn diagram to campaign by. This really is about taking all the elements of great storytelling and relationship building and gratitude. Your reward system is a form of gratitude. So really, you want to pay attention to all of these pieces. There's no one piece that makes a crowdfunding campaign successful. It is a holistic effort. It really is about coming from your heart and your passion and engaging people where they are, how they live, and how they want to change the world. Okay, we're not going to go through these, but the Tesla Museum project is one of my favorites. Oh my God, I love it because I'm a Tesla fan, of course. But we're not going to go through this. You guys are going to get the PDF of this deck so you can go through the case studies. But I do want to highlight one thing about the Tesla campaign. The campaign was very well thought out. The story was very entertaining. It was mapped out by this guy called the Oatmeal. I've never heard of him before. The Oatmeal? What kind of name is that? That's crazy. But what he had done, his name is Matthew Inman. What the Oatmeal had done was he has this amazing rabbit fan base of 1 million people, and he's also mad for Tesla, just like I am. And when the group of Tesla folks wanted to buy the old laboratory to turn it into a museum around Tesla and his ideas and his concepts, they approached Matthew, and he was like, oh, hell yeah. And he went forward and he did this amazing project. They raised over $1 million on Indiegogo. That was a breakthrough moment for Indiegogo, and it was a breakthrough for projects of this type to raise that much money, little donations from all over the world. Really phenomenal. So again, it's the relationships. This is another one that you'll look at later. Hillary Pfeiffer, she's a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon. She is a serial crowdfunder. She knows how to create sustainability in her campaigning, and that's why I put her in this deck, because if you're an artist, you're a musician, you're an inventor, creating sustainable conversations, sustainable projects as you go over time can be really critical to your mental well-being as well as your financial well-being as you move forward. And now we get to retiring malaria, which is Mr. Robert Cummins. Do you like my little mosquito I found for you there, Robert?
I do. I love it.
And this is the first version. So this is the first version of the website when he and I were just like, he had a presentation he had to do. He didn't have a name for the project yet. We came up with Tired of Malaria. So we just whipped out a website for him, and he got to present this at one of the team weekends, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was part of Zindaba's game, which was eliminating poverty in Zambia. Yes.
Did we lose you, Adrienne?
No, I'm here. It's just that there was a lot of background noise because the kitchen's right behind me and everybody's hungry, so they're eating chips and crackers and stuff. So, Robert, let's see. We're going to talk about this in a minute. We don't really need to go through the equity. We already talked about that a bit. Okay, here's the CPO. So currently, who's doing these community public offerings are the green states. The yellow states, they're still jumping through some hoops and doing some negotiations with the statewide legislators. They're trying to figure out who's going to do what for their CPOs, but they're very, very close. So, Robert, I thought that the CPOs were alive in California, but not quite yet. They're coming. Okay. But nationally, there is the direct public offering, which is more like equity crowdfunding than it is the CPO offer, which is much simpler and much easier for a visionary who's putting their stuff out there in the world. The CPO is a little easier to handle. And it's a great training, man. If you don't get your message right and you're not clear on who you're serving, you ain't going to get those investors, even at $100 a share. Okay, so the organization, I'm actually part of the business, what is BEC, honey? Business Enterprise Center. And we help people with their business plans, and we approve the business plans, and then we send them to Hatch, Oregon, which is in Portland, and Hatch has extended training programs on how to run your CPOs. So there's going to be stuff like this that starts to emerge in all 50 states. And then this is the course, and I just wanted to show you a couple of the items. And this has changed dramatically since Jen and Robert have joined the course. We're turning all this into Google Docs, so we've got this whole new way of interacting with teams around building your campaign. So, and this is actually the original page from 5 years ago. That's my photography. Isn't that great? So we have interactive spreadsheets. There's ways of figuring out how much you should charge. You want to make sure there's a certain gap at each level of perk or pledge item. So this worksheet helps you do that. And then we have editorial roadmaps, budgeting sheets, and then a community online where you can get support, watch our free get funded videos. We have two things like this, not with Jen, although maybe Jen will do it later. I usually host. But I always work with somebody who is thinking about crowdfunding in these Get Funded webinars. They're an hour. They used to be 2 hours. I don't know what I was thinking, 2 hours. But now they're an hour. It's much better.
Well, hour can be hard to hold. We've got 11 minutes, so we got to, like, I'm sitting here going, wow, we need 2. Yeah.
These are the days for the next intensives, and because of Robert, and he's going to tell you what his experience has been like, and what he's learning, and then maybe we'll go through an exercise where he's stuck somewhere. Think of someplace you're stuck, Robert. We now have a team version, so if you already have a team of 3 or more people on your crowdfunding campaign, you have a clear idea of what the team members do. So if you don't have a clear idea, take the intensive for individuals. If if you've got a clear idea about who your team members are and what their accountabilities are, then think about the intensive for teams, which is what Jen and Robert are in right now. And this is just a little tiny bit of what the intensives include. Robert can tell you that you get a lot more than those 4 bullet points. And I'm setting it up for just people who are seeing this broadcast, $200 off each of those courses. And you need to use this coupon code. And if I find out you gave it to somebody who's not in the TMLP, well, I'll think about what the penalty will be. But there'll be a penalty.
There's no integrity in that. We wouldn't do that.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so Robert, where are you stuck?
Okay, I'm going to put the camera over to you now, Robert.
Okay, where am I stuck? Wow.
You're in the hot seat.
Just in the campaign, not the rest of your life, just the campaign.
Oh, that's much easier.
5 minutes, so make it no pressure.
Yeah. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Okay, so actually, I would have to say the biggest place that I'm stuck right now is, and I wouldn't say it's so much stuck, I'm just kind of wading through the swamp here, is looking at the social media aspect of this. And one of the things that we've talked about on my team, I've got an amazing team that has joined me in putting this together. And one of the things that we're looking at is creating awareness of this product, creating awareness of malaria, doing things like the ice bucket challenge, doing challenging people to do different things. One of the guys on my video team, he's really good friends with Michael Winslow, who's a very well-known impressionist. He's an actor. He's been in all the Police Academy movies. He's got a gig coming up with TED Talks and William Shatner of all people. So we're looking at how can we bring him into doing a video for us, maybe getting a campaign viral. He does like really great sound impressions. He could do a mosquito buzzing. Have people do mosquito buzzing and challenge 3 other people to do that and put a video out there. So one of the things that I'm looking at is how to really get the reach the people that are out there to reach. My business plan calls for we still have $600,000 left in our Series A funding to raise. Whether we do that all by crowdfunding or not yet, I'm not sure. So that's one of the things to talk about. But we're raising a substantial dollar amount. So what I'm faced with is not having done this before. What's it going to take to really to make an effective campaign?
So I'm going to ask Jed to answer that, because Robert has heard Adrienne and I's answer to that. And let's see what you have. I'm curious. We all are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of how to reach the appropriate people, right? We're talking about the network, the audience that you're looking for, and the question really becomes, who is it that is going to be most interested in this campaign, and then where are they? So you need to create a strategy around finding out where those people are, defining who they are first, right? And then finding out where they are and actually getting the messaging in front of them. But I'll preface that with saying, first, you need to leverage, as Adrienne mentioned, those rabid fans, those early supporters, early in the campaign, right? Because if you don't, you can imagine if you manage to get an article in the New York Times day 1 of your campaign, that would be fantastic, and all of these thousands of people would be following the link through to your crowdfunding campaign page and saying, wow, this is really wonderful, and I wonder why his wife hasn't given him $50 yet, or his friends. Why is nobody supporting him? I'm surprised that his first followers, his friends, maybe they know something I don't know. And there's the potential for sort of missing the opportunity with that traffic that the press would drive. So one of the pointers I give is to prime the pump and sort of stack the deck in your favor for creating that success story. So publicizing your campaign to your nearest and dearest early in the process of creating the campaign, and then teeing them up to make sure that they're excited and ready to be your first funders is a key success point, such that when you sort of move to the second phase of publicizing your campaign to local news outlets, national news outlets, bloggers, et cetera, and all of these strangers start flowing through to your campaign, they see that you already have momentum and are well on your way to success. It's so much easier for them to say, hey, I'm ready to get behind this now that I see that others already are. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, and actually, and that's and thank you. So yeah, and one of the things that I talked about with Adrienne was to the most successful campaigns are where you've raised a third or you've pledged a third of the campaign before you even have it go active. So I created on my Google Doc a list of people that we can go out to who are going to pledge, people we know, and then the other thing that Adrienne has created in the intensive is generating the personas. So who are the people that you want to reach out to? Getting the keywords of the people, or getting the keywords of anybody who's going to be searching. Make sure these things are coming up on search engines. So
absolutely,
yeah,
I mean it's a business exercise, right? It's defining your target market, and where are those people, and what are they interested in, and how can you get in front of them? Absolutely, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that I was really impressed by was the number of tools that are available to do these sorts of things, and just how powerful these tools are. And we dedicated a fair amount of time just going through and using the tools, getting familiar with them, and how to reach those personas that we've created.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, Adrienne,
Yes.
you have some stuff to add to this?
Thank you, Jed, for underscoring the lessons in the course. And it's like anything else. The pathway is really not all that difficult. It's just taking action, having conversations, just being really, really clear what you're doing and why you're doing it, and not being afraid to say, hey, will you support me? Here's how you can, those types of things. And a lot of it is just getting over whatever is scaring you, right? Or whatever it could be. I need to know everything. This is Robert's. I need to know everything and how it's going to work. And it's like, dude, trust me.
Yeah.
Go have the conversations. Let the team help. And that's something that a lot of us really have difficulty with, especially if we're the artist or the visionary, the inventor, the guy who started the business. I mean, it's so much a part of who we are that to say that someone else could take on a piece of that identity is really difficult. But set it aside, because people are dying to help you. To help you. And I am guilty of the same, right? I know from whence I speak. So let your teams, your communities, your family, whoever is there that is really interested in what you're doing, let them help you. Say yes to them, so they'll say, everybody else will say yes to you too. So there's that. That's bottom line.
I think that's perfect, and it's a real opportunity to get practiced in making unreasonable requests.
Yes.
And additionally, to really stand in the future fulfilled and unfold your game backwards, right? And be able to, check in at your milestones and figure out if you're on track or if you need to repromise, etc. But crowdfunding is a perfect structure for a game in the world.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, and that was one of the things I was going to say, and then I was going to add a little bit that I've been mentoring Robert and Adrienne on is it's really important that where the magic happens in crowdfunding is the freedom and ease people have in sharing the word and sharing the opportunity to contribute. And so one of the things that you can start doing right now is having all those people who you enroll and register into being on your team in a conversation where you're sustaining their interest, and you're bringing them together in community so that then they get this is going to happen. Like, if there's this many people who are in this conversation and they're out to cause it, and then they've got their network and their network and their network, and then especially if you add somebody in there who has some fan base from being known as an actor comedian, it becomes very real for them, and it comes even more alive. And so creating online community, online conversation, and I recommend that it be done in particular through the platform where you're going to be able to reach the most people, which is Facebook and in a Facebook group. And when you do that, when the time comes, you can very powerfully deliver the content to them, and the ask that you're going to make of them to share is very simple. And that's part of also what causes a successful campaign, is that you package your requests in a way that is very easy to take apart and consume, and I look at it like candy. You give them candy, and they get to consume the candy and feel good because they actually fulfill on what they said they were going to do, and then they share, and it's success, and they make a difference in the world, and that's what they're there for. So it's important to make it structured in a way that makes it easy for them to fulfill on why they came there, so everyone has the experience of being satisfied and making a difference.
Yeah, we're a little bit over, but I want to make sure that everyone knows that I've got a kick-ass crowdfunding kit that I am distributing free to everybody who is dialed into this call. So be sure that Jen has your name and email address so I can get that to you. It includes spreadsheets. It's got interactive PDFs. If you're a DIYer, this is a toolkit that can get you moving forward. If you find out you need some coaching help, you know where to come, though.
Awesome.
But it's free, and Robert can tell you what it's like.
Yeah, I'd also like to put one last thing in too. I've heard so many people that didn't win their games because they didn't have the money to complete their game and win it. And here's the opportunity to empower you and your teammates with the tools you need to raise the funds to win your games.
Beautiful. Okay, with that, I declared this first crowdfunding workshop hosted by Team and Beyond complete, and we at Team and Beyond are excited about creating this opportunity for not just the subject matter of crowdfunding, but anything that is a game in the world or will contribute to games in the world, and the expansion of the team management and leadership program and the communication curriculum landmark, all of that. So be in communication. Reach out to me if you have some ideas, if you're watching this, and my email address is justgenuine, JESTJENUINE@gmail. And I as a co-leader of Team and Beyond, I will gather all the information from people who wrote crowdfunding in the forums. And if you want to email me, if you're getting this video secondhand or whatever, I will connect you with Adrienne for sure. So with that, I did declare it complete, and I'm seriously going to complete it now. Thank you all, and thank you everyone who was in the chat, and we look forward to connecting with all of you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Fabulous. Great to meet you,
Bye-bye.
Jed.
You too.
Yeah, thank you.